The story of GoPro beginnings is a classic American dream. Nick Woodman, a young surfer from a wealthy family, was frustrated that he had no means of recording his surfing adventures. This gave him the idea of creating a camera he could attach to his board. The concept gained popularity, and the man behind it now earns millions, which could have given him a life of leisure.
You're a billionaire. Matter of fact, I've only had 27 shows, and you're my 6th billionaire. Would you mind punching my billionaire club card?
However, within a decade of the company's stock market debut, its shares plummeted from $34 to just a little over $1, a decline of 95%. As a result, GoPro's CEO has to explain why the brand is incurring significant financial losses every year. How did GoPro, a company once known for setting trends and practically creating the sports camera industry, fade into oblivion without much notice? What lessons can we learn from its founders' mistakes? And can brilliant marketing still cover up annoyingly poor product quality? Here is the anatomy of GoPro's downfall. Before going public, GoPro experienced its best years. Despite being in the market for a decade, the company had no worthy competitor. DJI released its first sports camera only in 2019, while Sony's debut in 2012 wasn't quite what customers had hoped for. From 2012 to 2014, GoPro was the only sensible action camera available, despite few changes in its successive models. The lack of competition meant that there was no basis for comparison on what we could get for the similar amount of money. Hence, for a few more good years, the company could rest easily without looking over its shoulder at the competition. Besides incentives to their customers to share their experiences, the company teamed up with Red Bull, which gave it access to footage from the world's best athletes' feats, such as three-time Olympic gold medalist Shaun White, or professional freerider Kelly McGarry, whose canyon descent was viewed over 220 million times, making it the most watched GoPro video of all time. Thanks to GoPro cameras, we also witnessed the biggest marketing event in history, the Red Bull Stratos.
Thanks to the universe!
A very strong position in industry made the brand lazy. Nick Woodman basked in his glory, sharing a vision of the company's development that later turned out to be far from reality. In 2014, GoPro went public on the American Stock Exchange. While many companies use shareholder money to expand, Nick had a different idea for celebrating the IPO. He literally wasted hundreds of millions of dollars while ensuring that taxes paid on the company's profits were appropriately minimized. A year after the IPO, GoPro reported a loss of $31 million, but that was nothing compared to over $120 million loss in the first quarter of 2016. The following years were a bit more merciful for the company, but it still struggles with huge fluctuations in revenue and profit. The ongoing failure of GoPro can be attributed to three sources: the CEO himself, the poor quality of the flagship product, the sports camera, and a lack of understanding of what customers would want to buy from GoPro and for what purpose. Let's start with Nick Woodman. As the old saying goes, a fish rots from the head. It was no different with the GoPro. After the company's initial public offering, IPO, the founder, Nick Woodman, transferred shares worth almost $500 million to the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. This foundation is linked to the Jill and Nicholas Woodman Foundation, which was surprisingly created just before this transaction. According to the New York Times, what happened to this $500 million is unknown. It is believed that Nick Woodman avoided paying tens of millions of dollars in taxes through this transfer. This event was just a small part of the wastefulness yet to come. In 2015, Nick had to decrease his wealth by nearly $230 million worth of company shares. This is because many years earlier he had promised a friend that he would share the revenue from the sale of shares of the newly formed company in the future. When that friend cashed out the shares, the GoPro CEO had to cover the company's losses from his pocket. In 2018, GoPro's board had enough of Woodman. They stripped him of his entire salary, leaving him with a compensation of $1. The former highest-paid CEO in the USA was essentially left without any current means of living. To make ends meet, he had to cash out his company shares, which meant further declines of the stock market. Unfortunately, removing the company's president would not save GoPro from ongoing crisis, because the brand suffered from a more severe syndrome: ignoring its customers. It is natural not to buy a new model with the same flaws if you are worried about using equipment that is supposed to withstand challenging weather and terrain conditions. In recent years, GoPro has faced stiff competition from cheaper and still high-quality alternatives in the market, which has led to a significant loss of customers. If a brand cannot offer a superior product, it must focus on building customer loyalty. Unfortunately, this has always been a challenge for GoPro. Their famous slogan, "Be a hero," lacked clarity, leaving customers to figure out what it actually meant for them. Even long-term partnership with Red Bull or MotoGP have not helped GoPro cause, as they aim to target not only professionals, but also amateur sports enthusiasts and travelers. In 2016, instead of pleasing customers to strengthen their real loyalty, GoPro decided to become a media company. Millions poured into ultimately unrealized TV programs, and further declines in revenue led the company to withdraw from the project. 2 years later, in 2018, Nick Woodman, the CEO of GoPro, announced that he was open to selling the company. During this time, GoPro came up with a new idea to activate customers and slightly force them into increased brand loyalty. They launched the GoPro Awards, which includes several contests for the best shots taken with GoPro camera. Winners are awarded from several to tens of thousands of dollars. One of the most popular contests is the $1 Million Challenge, where participants can win an equal share of $1 million. Over 200 people have won and been featured on the official contest playlist. The company cleverly rewards between 40 and 60 people, which increases their chance of winning and encourages more people to enter the contest. For instance, in the last year's edition, over 40,000 people participated and just over 50 won a prize of $18,000. If a brand relied only on paid advertisements featuring professional athletes, it would have to spend much more than $1 million a year on marketing. However, the average customer might perceive the company's products as suitable only for professionals, which could discourage casual buyers. The contest aims to encourage creativity and gather free content for the brand's social media. Additionally, it seeks to entice customers to upgrade to the latest camera model. Such artificially built loyalty has no chance of working in the long run, because it should be built not with money and free products, but by actually meeting customers' needs and desires. Despite being a good concept, the GoPro Awards lag far behind Red Bull's crazy marketing. Over the years, Red Bull has organized parasport events such as the Soap Race, which has helped it build a strong brand identity. Winning the Soapbox race allows entrants to participate in a special event. This can include a ride in a Formula One car under the Red Bull brand. This attractive, non-monetary reward emphasizes the company's focus on attracting fun-loving enthusiasts. The brand values those who enjoy carefree fun over those who may only be interested in winning a prize. In fact, GoPro customers are responsible for creating the brand's marketing, but they are completely ignored when it comes to the most important thing, which is the company's future. GoPro needs to learn to better satisfy its customers by understanding the third vital element of building a great brand: a thoughtful product line.
Why, GoPro, should I spend $450 on another GoPro when I have my old GoPro that still works, because these things never die, and now I have a cell phone that has a super wide angle lens on it. It's sort of kind of waterproof, and it takes like an okay enough video image.
Every new GoPro is almost a copy of the previous one. This wouldn't necessarily be a problem if the company had corrected the serious flaws customers complained about. However, many of these issues have remained unaddressed for years. In its 20-year history, GoPro released almost 30 models of action cameras. In addition to the standard annual update of the top model, the company had tried to create cheaper and simply worse versions of its flagship product. Action cameras are expected to function flawlessly even in extreme conditions. Losing a recording of a rare stunt on bike or snowboard is far more disappointing for customers than accidentally deleting a cute kitten photo. It is no wonder that customers did not want to buy a product that, if it is unreliable in its top version, may be even less trustworthy in a less technologically advanced version. The company's attempts to reinvent the camera with the GoPro Hero Session model also primarily resulted in financial losses, similar to the total flop of building its own drone, the GoPro Karma, whose development cost the company $96 million. The GoPro drone was such a failure that the company had to refund money to 2,500 customers. Even several years later, after the product's premiere, they reported breaking of the equipment, meaning a serious malfunction that resulted in the inability to turn it on. Currently, GoPro also offers a smaller version of the classic GoPro, the GoPro Mini, which lacks a screen and a replaceable battery. Therefore, equipment intended for extreme sports is not quite suitable for the task and has exactly the same flaws and problems as the classic version of the camera. Only the GoPro Max, a 360-degree camera, managed to hold its own in the market despite strong competition from Insta360 and DJI. In addition to many versions of the same camera, the brand also created software to transfer photos and videos from GoPro to a phone, which is not a champion of usability and requires a monthly paid subscription for cloud storage. The GoPro management boasts to investors that subscription revenues currently account for about 10% of all revenues. But any slightly more savvy investor understands what this means. products are not selling, so the leadership tries to show that everything is going in the right direction. The latest GoPro 12 model offers almost the same features as the previous two generations, which may discourage customers from upgrading to a newer camera. GoPro is not the iPhone, which we upgrade just to show off that we can afford a $1,400 phone. It is a practical and specialized product that caters to a specific audience that purchases electronic equipment regularly, so they need to manage their budget wisely. The company still has not solved the problem of equipment overheating.
GoPro. It was fine a while ago, okay? I let it slide. How is this still happening in 2022? Like, I need a minute.
And is still the most expensive option on the market, which is literally flooded with action cameras. Most of them are either cheaper or better at handling overheating, spontaneous shutdowns, and battery life. GoPro is not a loved brand, even though it would like to be one. Unfortunately, customers will not buy equipment that continues to fail, just because they have the previous 3 or 4 generations of cameras collecting dust in the drawer. The company's biggest competitor, DJI, has outpaced GoPro in quality and ease of use. Reviewers praise the DJI Osmo Action camera for its tremendous magnetic mounting, easy-to-use screen, convenient preset access, longer-lasting battery, and faster charging time. Users also appreciate the convenient option of connecting a dedicated microphone from DJI, making the camera suitable for vlogging. The Chinese company also cares about professional creators by continuously improving the DJI Pocket model, which is becoming a favorite tool for online creators. All these advantages, combined with image quality comparable to GoPro, leave the American company far behind, and perhaps only creating an entirely new camera from scratch will allow the brand to bounce back. GoPro started 2024 with an 8% year-over-year decrease in revenue and loss of $27 million. The company's shares fell from over $90 each at the peak of its popularity to just over $1. Despite its weak financial performance, the company is still attempting to compete with DJI, which has firmly established itself in the action camera market. In 2024, GoPro plans to acquire a company that creates motorcycle helmets with built-in cameras and has collaborated with MotoGP. The main goal of these actions is to expand to reach the new customer groups because the company realizes one significant thing. GoPro operates in a niche, so the number of potential customers is limited. If a customer does not buy a newer version of an action camera each year, sales will inevitably begin to decline due to market saturation. However, even millions of new potential buyers may feel a great distance from the GoPro brand, even if they have never been a customers before. All they have to do is look for opinions on the internet before purchasing, and they will come across literally thousands of videos advising against getting a GoPro camera. In addition to its rather average hardware, GoPro always had, and still has, a problem with software packed with features that are hard to access through inconvenient menus. Although it essentially makes no sense to use them if the camera overheats over 20 minutes of use. GoPro demands a lot from its customers, but gives little or nothing in return. When GoPro had no competitors, they could ignore fan complaints since there were no other options for recording their adventures. The company conquered its industry not just because of the advantages of its products, but despite their flaws. When Sony, Insta360 and DJI entered the competition with their cameras, dark clouds hung over GoPro, which continued to loom over the brand. GoPro, wanting to be a company for masses, has stopped understanding what it really is. A company making sports cameras. Instead of actually fulfilling the be a hero promise, the brand is stuck between satisfying the so-called power users and conquering a market already occupied by smartphones. Despite introducing new features for sharing videos and photos, GoPro is not able to convince users to reach for an action camera instead of turning on the camera on their phones. GoPro users are not loyal to the company because they cannot have an emotional relationship with a product that can fail in the least expected moment. All of the GoPro's marketing is based on user-generated content created by the company's clients. These customers are probably grateful for GoPro's building their reach and for sponsorship, but another company could easily provide these two benefits if it wanted to. Ultimately, even the most beautiful and exciting shots will not convince people to purchase if the competition has a better product. Despite the pretty good reception of the latest GoPro model, shareholders still do not trust the company and do not want to invest in it. Even the launch of GoPro 12 did not reverse the trend for a day, which means the company is in serious trouble. Thanks for watching! Subscribe to this channel if you are interested in what the next video will be about, and if you want to appreciate my work, leave a comment down below. See you soon! Bye!